Hello everyone and welcome to another short video on our own devices. I'm Jean Messier and today we're having a look at yet another fascinating accessory for the Kodak Carousel and Ektagraphic series of slide projectors. This is an infrared remote control intended to replace the regular wired remote control that came with these projectors. And this allows you to operate the projector from a greater distance or with greater freedom, for example when presenting in a large lecture hall or in environments where multiple radio frequency remotes would interfere with one another. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a whole lot of specific historical or technical information about this accessory, but still, let's have a closer look at it and let's see what we can find out. So as best as I can tell, this accessory was introduced by Kodak around 1989, with this particular unit retailing for $172. Assuming this was sold around the time of release, that would be equivalent to over $400 in today's money. Quite pricey when you consider how incredibly common and cheap infrared signaling technology is today. If we open up the box, we can see that this has two main components, a transmitter and receiver. Handily, a 9-volt battery is also included. This is to power the transmitter and also the receiver under specific circumstances, but we'll get to that in a minute. Like the wired unit that this replaces, the remote has two sets of controls, slide advance and reverse, and focus adjustment. And if we open this up, this is closed using a Torx head screw, by the way, we can see the three LEDs that emit the infrared signal. Interestingly, when LEDs were first introduced in the early 1960s, they emitted only infrared light. Visible wavelengths came later. And in infrared signaling applications, the operating wavelength is typically 940 nanometers, which is invisible to the human eye, but appears on most charge-coupled devices or CCD sensors as purple, as you can see on camera here. And while today LEDs can be manufactured to emit an incredibly narrow band of wavelengths, this wasn't always the case. So this remote includes an infrared filter that further narrows down the emission band to prevent interference to or from other devices. Now, if this remote had only a single function, for example on-off, the mere presence or absence of an infrared signal would be sufficient to transmit the required information. However, this has four functions, and these are differentiated by varying the frequency at which the LEDs blink, and the receiver will have a number of filter circuits to discriminate between those different frequencies. Speaking of the receiver, this plugs into the same socket on the projector as the regular wired remote, and ordinarily doesn't require any batteries since the power is supplied by the projector itself. However, if you're using an external accessory like the Kodak Dissolve Control, which I've already done a whole video on, link in the description, this is no longer the case and you must insert a 9-volt battery to power the receiver independently. You must also move this switch on the side from proj or projector mode to bat or battery mode. Now, unlike radio frequency remotes, infrared remotes require direct line of sight between the transmitter and the receiver. And in order to maximize reception from all different angles, the receiver includes a cylindrical plastic prism to gather light from all directions and focus it to a point. And if we open up the casing, we can see that mounted at the focus of the prism is a phototransistor for detecting incoming IR signals. According to the box, the system can operate out to a range of 100 feet or 30 meters. And that, dear viewers, is a brief overview of the Kodak Carousel and Ektagraphic infrared remote system. Sorry I wasn't able to provide much in terms of commercial history, development, more technical insights than that. Like I said, specific information about this accessory is rather thin on the ground. However, I am always fascinated by the often clever engineering of vintage Kodak products, so whenever one comes my way, I always make sure to cover it on this channel. And as always, if any of you have any more information on the subject, please let me know, and I will add it in the description of this video, or if you provide me even more information, I might remake the video altogether. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time in another video where we'll look at yet more fascinating photographic equipment and other devices just like this one. Until then, I'm Jean Messier from Our Own Devices. Have a great day.